We're recording. So this morning's orientation to practice flows on from last week and from Simo's comment at the end of the practice that was almost taking the mickey a bit to make you do twists where your torso is constricted, and specifically the muscles, as I said, the muscles that do trunk rotation are the same muscles that cause your expiration, that cause your out breath. So once I put you into postures that engage those muscles which expel, contribute to the expulsion of air, then say breathe deeply, it's a big ask. And it's a really good point, because that for me is such an important facet of a yoga practice that it would be easy to, and it's valuable, to give you practices, say put you in restorative yoga postures, lying on the ground, supported over bolsters, and encourage your full and deep breathing. That's really worthwhile. But I also reckon that it's one thing to find maximal, optimal breathing in a position of relative ease, but if you can do it in a position of challenge, that's really valuable. And also super applicable. Years ago, I haven't checked in for a while, years ago I followed a guy on YouTube called Scott Abel, Coach Scott Abel, and I think it was prior to CrossFit becoming really big even, or I'm not sure when CrossFit was founded, but he was doing these metabolic conditioning workouts. And I was doing some of them, and I remember him saying, and I think it was in, I forget what they call it. It's like you do a clean front squat jerk or something like that. I think it's like a Navy SEAL compound. So, it really gasses you out. And I remember him saying, like, he's coaching a guy through it on the video, and he says, focus on slowing your heart rate and slowing your rate of breathing. And I went, like, I hadn't even thought about it like that. I'd always assumed that it was a pretty linear thing, that when you were doing a given movement, that your rate of breathing and your heart rate would be slower simply when you became fitter, simply when the kind of physical components changed. Then the thought that, oh, hang on, maybe there's a range within that, and you can focus on all things being relative, your heart rate being a little slower and your breathing being a little steadier. And that was a real revelation for me. Now, sure enough, in respiratory physiology, your rate of breathing remains elevated. I learned this only last year, but like if I asked you, if I said, what is it when you're exercising, what do you think it is that causes your rate of breathing and your heart rate to stay high? And particularly for rate of breathing, like I would have answered, and indeed I was asked this question a year ago, and I answered, well, it's the fact that with exercise, you have more cellular respiration going, and the byproducts of that, it uses oxygen and kicks out carbon dioxide as a product. So it's that your oxygen's depleted, your carbon dioxide goes up, and that drives a higher rate of breathing. When in actual fact, that's not the case. When you exercise, you breathe more deeply and you breathe more. So in actual fact, in your blood, you have slightly elevated oxygen and slightly decreased carbon dioxide. So in actual fact, it's joint proprioception. So basically your body moving is one of the things that drives an elevated rate of respiration. So literally we could put you on the ground. One person could grab your two legs, another person could grab your two arms. We could move your body and you get an elevated rate of respiration, even if you were completely relaxed. The other factors, you get anticipatory increase, so your cortex, your brain, knows that you're moving, and in anticipation of increased oxygen demand, it increases your rate of respiration. Another really key factor is adrenaline. So your sympathetic nervous system, the fight and flight system, which kicks in to release stress hormones. And we can have a whole other interesting talk about that, that stress hormones get a bad rap, where in actual fact, stress hormones simply increase the availability of energy. So they release glycogen from muscle and other stores, so that you have more blood glucose available to move, to run as needed. They increase attention, they increase problem solving and memory storage. So actually, if you didn't get stressed at all in a challenging situation, you wouldn't have that elevated function. Of course, prolonged high stress can become a problem. But that becomes a really interesting point, because it means that familiarity to exercise will immediately change. So if you do a new workout, whatever it is, and it's brutal, and you have that mindset, you know it's tough. Like you look at it and see the 100 thrusters it starts with, or whatever it is that really messes with you. You see that and you feel stress, and automatically that will mean that your rate of respiration will be slightly elevated, and not because of necessary demand of the thing. And this is all to say that there's a range within what you're experiencing that you can play with. So the thing about that makes it an interesting yoga thing is it's as much, or it's a lot about the inner work then of, like I said, it's not, I used to assume it's just your body is this fit, so it will respond with this much increase in heart rate and rate of respiration. But there's actually an intentional and an attentional component to how any given exercise affects those things. And yoga becomes really interesting for that, because we can move fairly slowly, and the challenge is not significant compared to what you do in a Metcon with Simo, but there is challenge nonetheless. And of course, what each of us experiences as very challenging, very uncomfortable is incredibly different. So you get to practice that, and you get to practice at a fairly low level. So what I think would certainly be valuable is you do this simple practice, and you play with that ability to stay attentive to and intentional about your breath and how you regulate it. And then you can take it into a Metcon with Simo, and you can take it into a work situation where you're driving for a deadline, you're under high stress, and you realize, hang on a sec, my heart's pounding, and this stress to a degree will drive beneficial processes of attention and memory and so forth. But if I can drop that a little, I might be in that optimal range of function. So that would be my invitation as you do this. Play with that, like play with the intention of and the attention to, can I continue to slow my breathing even though it might be challenging, even though there are very real demands that are driving it up? Is there a range within which I can bring it down a little? So please grab your cushions and sit on them. And as you first sit, note that there's a connection between, today we'll work kind of around your hips a lot. And there's a connection, your deep hip flexors cross your hip joint and attach to the vertebrae of your lumbar spine. So there's a connection between the position of your pelvis and the positioning of your lumbar spine. So as you first sit, have a play with rock forward and back on your sitting bones. And primarily feel the movement happening there and see how much movement you can create of your sitting bones on your cushion, how much movement you can create of your pelvis. And as you do that, let the muscles of your trunk be soft and don't feel you have to create movement of your lumbar spine. But at the same time, what movement does happen, allow that to happen. So maybe close your eyes down as you explore through these ranges a few more times. And then gradually decrease how much movement you're doing at your pelvis. And look for an optimal middle spot to become still in, to rest in, to sit in. And it might be that you're sitting a little further forward on your sitting bones than you ordinarily might. The other thing that you can do, so often we sit with sitting bones rotated too far under, and it will cause rounding into lower back. So you can grab a bum cheek, grab over your sitting bone, move that flesh back and sit, and then do the same on the other, so that you're sitting high on your sitting bones and slightly forward. Then rest your palms into your lap. Your shoulders soften down. Feel as if your elbows become a little heavier, so that your elbows drop slightly in towards your sides, so that the weight of your elbows softly tractions your shoulders down. With that, perhaps make some gentle movements of your head in whichever direction. Tilt from side to side. Turn from side to side. You can kind of roll your head through some full circles in either direction. And with that, feel the muscles across the tops of your shoulders and up through the sides of your neck soften. And once you've done that, come to stillness again. And begin to take some deep, even and steady breaths here. Focus on the fullness of your in-breath flowing down into the spaces of your belly. And slightly lengthen each out-breath so that your out-breath comes to be at least the same length as your in-breath, if not a little longer than your in-breath. Here, as you focus on your breath, also bring your awareness to your heartbeat. And can you, as you allow your body to soften, particularly across the tops of your shoulders and through your neck, as you deepen your breath, can you focus on that sense of your heart rate slowing a little? And it might not even be that you feel that you can intervene with that, but simply become aware of your heartbeat, of its rate and rhythm. And as always, it might be that you actively intervene with your breath and with your heart rate through the practice. But if you do nothing other than continuing to become aware of them throughout the practice, then that in itself is a big deal. Join your palms at the center of your chest. Take a couple more deep breaths here at your pace. And then wherever you are in your cycles of breathing, exhale fully. Interlace your fingers and bring your knuckles up under your chin. Inhale, raise your elbows high. Exhale, press forward through the heels of your hands, round into your back. Scoop your belly at the end of the out breath. Inhale, sit tall, reach up, stretch away. Exhale, release your hands down behind you. Clasp your hands at the base of your back. Inhale, roll your shoulders back and down. Lift the center of your chest. Exhale, return your hands in front of you. Interlace your fingers. Inhale, knuckles under chin. Raise your elbows high. Exhale, press away. Scoot that round back through your spine and abdomen. Inhale, sit tall. Exhale, release your hands around behind you, clasp them. Inhale, shoulders back and down to lift the center of your chest. Exhale, bring your hands around and clasp them in front of you once more. Inhale, raise your elbows high. Exhale, press away and scoot back. Inhale, sit tall, reach up. Different this time. Exhale, release your left fingertips to the ground beside you. Side bend. Creep your fingertips away a little. As you do, keep your pelvis level on the ground. Keep your right sitting bone anchored. And you can deepen this. You could continue to creep your left fingertips further away. You could even release your left elbow to the ground. Again, keep your right sitting bone, the right side of your pelvis, anchored. Reach a little more fully through your right arm, reach a little brighter to your right fingertips. Inhale, come up and raise both arms. And exhale, twist to your right. Take your left hand to the outside of your right thigh, your right fingertips to the ground behind you. Continue to sit tall and actively rotate and turn your head to look back along the line of your right shoulder. Look forward. Inhale, untwist and raise two arms. And exhale, twist to the other side. Take your right hand outside your left thigh, left fingertips to the ground behind you, and sit tall. Then maximally rotate. Every segment of your spine, can you find the maximal available rotation? Look forward. Inhale, untwist and raise two arms. And side bend to your other side. Drop your right fingertips to the ground. Stretch away. Again, deepen as much as serves you by walking your right fingertips away on the ground. You have the option of dropping your right elbow to the ground. As before, keep the left side of your pelvis anchored. So you really find the stretch through that top side of your waist and the side of your back. Take a couple deeper breaths, and as you do, ever so gently reach longer through your left arm. Inhale, come up and raise both arms. Release your hands to the ground and come up and over to all fours. Pop your cushions off to one side. And here, take some movements through cat-cow, just like we did before you sat. Start at your pelvis. So focus on the movement of your sitting bones. Almost feel like you draw a line up the wall with your sitting bones. And then down as you exhale, roll your sitting bones under. Inhale, take your sitting bones back and up. Exhale, roll your sitting bones down and under. Continue through those movements. Inhale, back and up. Notice, just by moving your pelvis, you create movement through your lower back. Exhale, roll under. Now you can actively start to involve the rest of your spine. So as you inhale, take your sitting bones up, look forward and draw your shoulder blades back and down. As you exhale, push the ground away, round into your mid and upper back. Inhale, sitting bones back and up, look forward, draw shoulder blades down and in. Exhale, roll your sitting bones under and push the ground away with your hands. Really round it. A couple more times. Inhale, extend back, broaden your chest, take your sitting bones up. And exhale, flex, roll your sitting bones under, push the ground away and round in. Once more like this. Inhale, find the maximal extension of your spine. Exhale, flex in deeply. Inhale, come to neutral and tuck your toes. Exhale, press back to downward facing dog. From that length of hands to feet in all fours, you might like to take your feet a little further back. And as always, as you first find downward facing dog, put as much bend in your knees and as much lift through your heels as serves you. Great. Think a really elongating line between your hands on the ground, between your wrists, and between your sitting bones. Take a couple deeper breaths. Inhale deeply. And exhale, walk your hands to the back of your mat. Slide your hands up your shins. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward. Exhale, fold it. Inhale, slide your hands up a little to lengthen your spine away. Exhale, fold. Once more, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Pause here. Hold your elbows with your opposite hand. Let your torso, head and arms hang heavy. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, release your hands to your mat. Halfway lift, slide your hands up to lengthen your spine away. Exhale, walk your hands forward, downward facing dog. Inhale deeply. Exhale evenly. Inhale deeply. Exhale, walk your feet to the front of your mat. Halfway lift, slide your hands up a little to find the length of your spine. Exhale, fold. Stand up. Inhale, raise your arms up. Look up. Exhale, release your arms down beside you. Take your feet wide, just outside of hip width apart. Inhale, raise your arms. And exhale, drop your left hand to your left thigh. Take a slight side bend and drive down through 2 feet, especially down through your right foot to lengthen your entire spine. And deepen that side bend, sliding your left hand deeper down the side of your thigh. As you go, keep driving firmly down through your right foot so that your hips don't push away to the right, but you keep the sense of staying centered on 2 feet. Just like in a seated side bend, create a sense of length through your right arm, all the way to your right fingertips. Inhale, come up and raise 2 arms. Take the second side, drop your right hand to the side of your right thigh. Find just a bit of side bend. And press down through 2 feet to lengthen your spine. As you exhale, deepen the side bend, but keep pressing down through your left foot. And keep 2 feet pressing firm into the ground so you can keep lengthening your spine up and away as you reach a little deeper. And reach a little more brightly, a little more fully through your left arm to left fingertips. Inhale, come up, raise 2 arms. Exhale, release your arms down. Bring your feet just a fraction narrower. Inhale, raise your arms and look up. Exhale, folding. Halfway lift. Inhale, lengthen your spine away. Exhale, take your hands down, step your left foot back and release your left knee to the ground. Inhale, come up. Exhale, deepen your lunge just a bit. Breathe in deeply, breathe down into your belly. And with your out breath, maybe you deepen your lunge a fraction. Breathe in deeply. Down dog, plant your hands and step back. Take 1 breath here. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, step your left foot between your hands, drop your right knee to the ground. Come up and raise your arms up, low lunge. Exhale and sink a little deeper into the lunge. So go breath for breath. Breathe in deeply, breathe into your belly. Exhale evenly, perhaps sink a little deeper into your lunge. Inhale. Exhale, take your hands to the ground, step your back foot forward. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, folding. Rise up, inhale, raise your arms up, look up. Exhale, release your arms down beside you. Inhale, raise your arms up. Look up. Exhale, folding. Halfway lift. Inhale, lengthen your spine away. Exhale, take your hands to the ground. Step your left foot back to crescent lunge. Keep your back knee off the ground this time. Inhale, rise up. Reach your arms up. Perhaps find a little more depth into the lunge. As you do, keep your back leg strong. So really power your back leg up. Press down through your back foot. And you can almost press back a little through your back heel. Take another full breath here. Good, aim to bend your front knee to a square so your front knee centers over your front ankle. Good. Inhale. Down dog, plant your hands and step back. 1 breath here. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Left side exhale, step your left foot between your hands. Crescent lunge, rise up and raise both arms. Find the sense that you sink deeper into your lunge, that you bend your front knee more to center over your front ankle. But as you do, then really power up, really stretch your back leg away. You might, with that work of your back leg, find the tightness in your back leg. Hip flexors. So really breathe down into your belly with that. Inhale deeply. Exhale, take your hands to the ground, step your back foot forward. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold in. Rise up. Inhale, raise your arms, look up. Exhale, release your arms down beside you. Inhale, raise your arms up, look up. Exhale, fold in. Halfway lift. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward. Down dog, plant your hands, step back. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, step your right foot between your hands. Crescent lunge, rise up and raise your arms. As we've done before, bend your back knee halfway to the ground. And find, as much as possible, find a long lower back. So take a hand to your lower back and kind of fill your lower back out into your hand. Now keeping the depth of your front knee bend, work to straighten your back knee. But as you straighten it, aim to keep your lower back filling out into your hand. Again, bend your knee halfway. As you inhale, work your back leg straight and strong. Exhale, bend your knee halfway and raise two arms. Once more, inhale, straighten your back leg. Pause here, exhale. Inhale. Exhale, release your back knee to the ground. Keep that sense of a long and full lower back. Deepen into the lunge. Breathe in. And come to a side bend. Drop your right forearm either to your right upper thigh or right fingertips to the ground beside you. You'll likely feel the stretch start to come more into the side of your waist and back. Keep working the depth of the lunge so you find it all the way down into the front of your hip. Take two more deep breaths here. Inhale, come up and raise two arms. Exhale, take your fingertips to the ground and lift your back knee off the ground. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward. Exhale, straighten your front knee and fold it. Inhale, bend your knee and lengthen your spine away. Exhale, straighten your leg to fold. Draw your right hip back as you do that. Do this 3 more times. Inhale, bend your leg, your front knee, lengthen your spine forward. Exhale, straighten your leg and fold, drawing your right hip back to square your hips. Twice more. Inhale, bend your front knee, lengthen your spine. Exhale, straighten your front knee and fold. Last time. Inhale, bend to lengthen your spine. Keep your back leg strong. Exhale, straighten your front leg and fold. Remain here for a few breaths. Because the stance is long, keep your back heel lifted up high. So you're way up on tippy toes on your back leg. Square your right hip back. And pressing the ball of your front foot down into the ground like you're pressing on the accelerator or brake. Work to straighten your front leg a little more. You can work a little deeper into those front leg hamstrings. Good. Take a breath in. And exhale, bend your front knee. Heel toe your front foot across until your 2 feet are on one line, one train track. And lift up the ball of your front foot. Turn out your foot and come onto the outer edge, the little toe edge of your foot. Bring your left hand across a little and start to straighten your right leg. Bring your right hand to your hip and gently draw back. Now here you can keep your hand on your hip or you can raise your right arm. Let me give you a different angle. So keep working to straighten this leg. Bring your toes back toward you. Then almost think like you're trying to drag this front foot back and wrap your hip back. Likely you'll feel this down the outside of your leg. Take a deep breath in. Down dog. Plant your hands and step back. Take a couple of deep breaths here. Take one more deep breath in. Left side. Step your left foot between your hands. Crescent lunge. Rise up and raise 2 arms. Just like before, bend your back knee about halfway to the ground. Take a hand to your lower back. And rather than your lower back feeling really concave to the touch, fill your lower back out into your hand. So it might feel like your sitting bones point down more. And work to straighten your back knee without your lower back changing a whole lot. Good, again, bend your back knee. And keeping the depth of your lunge, work to straighten your back leg without the position of your pelvis and lower back really changing. Exhale, bend your back knee halfway and raise your arms. And again, inhale, straighten your back knee. Pause here, stay deep in the lunge. Inhale. Exhale, release your back knee to the ground. Take a deep breath in. Sink deeper into your lunge. Good. Inhale deeply. And exhale, side bend to your left. Again, taking either left forearm to upper left thigh or left fingertips to the ground beside you. Good. Keep breathing deeply and fully. Keep a little of that sense of your lower back being full. So if you took a hand to your lower back, it wouldn't be really concave, but it would be kind of full. Again, breathe deeper. And as you breathe out, you might deepen into the lunge and also into the side bend. Inhale, come up and raise 2 arms. Exhale, take your fingertips to the ground, lift your back knee off the ground. Into these hamstrings. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward. Exhale, straighten your front leg partially or fully and fold in over it. Inhale, bend your front knee and lengthen your spine forward. Exhale, straighten your front knee and fold over it. Keep this quite rhythmical. So each time, inhale, bend your front knee and lengthen away. Exhale, straighten your front knee and fold. Do that twice more. Inhale deeply as you bend your front knee. Exhale evenly as you work into the fold. Once more. Inhale deeply, bend and lengthen your spine away. Exhale evenly, straighten your front leg and fold. Take a few more breaths here. Again, lift your back heel high to enable you to square your front hip back and your back hip forward. Then keep pressing down through the ball of your front foot. And maybe, depending on where you're at, maybe you work to straighten your front leg a little more in order to work deeper into those hamstrings. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, bend your front knee. Heel toe your front foot across till both your feet are on the one line. And again, this gnarly little shape. Lift the ball of your front foot. Spin on your heel to point your toes out, and then bring only the little toe edge of your foot to the ground. Bring your left hand to your left hip. Wrap your hip back to work your legs straighter or entirely straight. Bring your hand across your right hand closer to your heel and start to spin your torso open. You could reach your left arm up toward the ceiling, but you also don't have to. So work your front leg straight. Try and straighten it as much as possible. And then feel as if you're dragging that front foot back in the direction of your back leg. So you really feel the stretch down the outside of your thigh. Take a deep breath in. Down dog, plant your hands and step back. A couple of breaths. Come to child's pose. Release your knees to the ground. Take your knees to mat width apart. Bring your big toes together and sit your hips back on your heels. Keep your arms stretched out overhead and rest your forehead to the ground. Take a few breaths here. And like all of these shapes, it's so body shape and structure dependent. Some people in child's pose, their hips will rest easily on their heels. For many of us, myself included, I need to press my hands down and forward to help weight my heels down. So don't hesitate to use your arms to help with that. And also, if your butt doesn't touch your heels, that wouldn't make you a worse or a better human. Please come back to down dog. Take a deep breath in. And exhale, step your right foot between your hands. Set up in the same way as before. Pick up the ball of your front foot. So sorry, I just didn't give this bit of information. Have your 2 feet on one train track. Then pick up the ball of your front foot, turn your foot out, bring only the outer blade, the little toe edge of your foot to the ground. Walk your hands out in front of your little. For this shape, keep a bend in your knee. Take a breath in and lengthen your spine. Keep your back leg strong, walk your hands away in front of you and bow your head through. So in the side view, keep your back leg strong. You might ever so slightly press your knee down towards the ground. So that front thigh is externally rotated, it's turned out. You can walk your hands more deeply further away. Bring your hands back in. Bring your front foot back to neutral and drop your back foot to the ground. And you can keep this front foot neutral, or you might like to turn your toes out slightly. Reach your right arm back, bend your back leg and catch the top of your foot. First, draw that foot toward your hip and lengthen your spine. Then you might take this hand on the ground a little further forward, spin your torso open. Now this one's not for everyone. If this isn't working for you, instead lie on your front. And with your left leg, take this quad stretch. Very similar effect. Take a couple of deep breaths. And you might consider rolling your right shoulder a little more deeply open. So roll your right shoulder open towards the ceiling. That's it, Tone, good. Take a deep breath in. Release the pose and press back to down dog. Take a few deep breaths. Inhale deeply. And exhale, step your left foot between your hands. Set up on the second side, heel toe your front foot across, so it's on the same line as your back foot. Lift up the ball of your foot, spin on your heel to turn your toes out. And again, this pose, your knee remains bent. Walk your hands out in front of you a little. Take a deep breath in and lengthen your spine away. And exhale, walk your hands away and fold in. Keep your back leg strong. So I'll give you the side view again. Well, this is from one side. And the view from the other side. You might even, as you're in the pose, press this front knee down towards the ground a little. As you're in the shape, keep your back leg strong. For the record, I know this one's gnarly. And walk your hands back in, drop your back knee down. Either keep these front toes slightly turned out or bring them neutral again. Reach your left arm back. Catch the top of your foot and draw in. Lengthen your spine away. Perhaps you walk your hands away on the ground a little and deepen. And again, for a variety of reasons, that pose will suck for some people and just be not useful. You can lie on the ground. Now it's your right leg. Take this quad stretch. So you should be left hand back, opposite hand. So Lydia, just change hands. That's the one, and you'll just feel more balanced. Good. Take a last deep breath in here. And then step back to down dog. And again, release to child's pose. Take a couple of breaths here. Please find your way onto your back. I know I threatened that we do some work at the wall but we might save that for another day. So just come onto your back, bend your legs in, and just like you did in seated at the very beginning, create some movements of your pelvis. Roll your sitting bones away and down toward the ground. Then roll your sitting bones up and away from the ground so more of your lower back finds the ground. Again, roll your sitting bones away and down. Likely your lower back will lift up off the ground. Use your out breath to roll your sitting bones up away from the ground and to scoop your belly down into the ground. Great, a couple more of these movements. And as you do, notice what goes on at the fronts of your hips. Are those muscles working really hard as you do this? So even for reference, take your hands to the fronts of your hips, right at the tops of your thighs. And keep doing these movements. Find the maximal movement of your pelvis with as little muscle engagement as possible. Keep breathing deeply, and you can keep timing the movements to your breaths, or just keep breathing long and even and kind of move through the rhythm of your breath. Bring those movements to stillness now. So start to find the midpoint between those two extremes. You might even do some little very small jiggles, kind of like you're pulling towards you and pushing away from you with your feet, very quickly alternating. And relax in the middle. Gently windscreen wipe your knees from side to side, just small movements. Then take a figure 4 stretch. Cross your right leg over, bring the base of your right shin to the top of your left thigh. Then reach through with your right arm. Down the outside with your left arm, lie back and use your arms to draw your legs into you. Keep your top foot actively flexed as you work in this. Great, breathe deeply and evenly. And keep using your arms to draw your legs towards you. Now, if you find this really cruisy and it doesn't give you much work in your hip, I'll give you another alternative. I'll show you it in seated. So you'll take your right leg, wrap your arms around and cradle it. And you're still, I'm just showing you in seated, but then lie back. I don't know if you can still see me yet. Lie back and you're using your arms to hug that in. So Lucas, I think you're pretty open through your hips. You might like to try that alternative. And of course, if it works for you, stick with it. If it just is a dumb idea, and leave it as such. Wherever you are, take a few deeper breaths. Good. And please keep your legs in the shape that they're in, but release your foot to the ground. Cross your top thigh all the way down onto your underneath thigh. And shift your hips slightly to the, so it should be right leg on top. Shift your hips slightly to the right of your mat. Take a breath in and spread your arms wide. I'll show you. And exhale, take your knees over to the left and turn your head to the right. Good. The weight of your legs. So Lucas, legs the other way. Yeah, and then twist your knees and hips towards me. So keep that leg on top and twist. That's the one. It can go either way. Well, I find this way just works better. Now, the weight of your legs might be sufficient. As many of you have already worked out, you can take your left hand to your outer thigh to add a little weight and keep actively rotating your trunk in the opposite direction. Take a deep breath in to come back to the middle. And then change legs. Take the second side. Take your left leg on top in figure 4. Again, reach through, grab your shin, draw in. Keep your top foot flexed in the stretch. And as before, some of you may like this variant, that you just work the top leg, wrap your arms around it and draw in. So this position that I'm in seated, you're in lying on your back. And whichever shape you take, keep the flex of the foot on your top leg. As much as possible, rest your head back to the ground. Breathe deeply and evenly into the stretch. You can, if you find there's a lot of extension in your neck, so the back of your neck has to shorten a lot for your head to rest on the ground, you can pop something under the back of your head. Keep your legs in exactly the shape that they're in, but release your foot to the ground and cross your top thigh down onto your underneath thigh. Shift your hips slightly, so it should be left leg on top. Shift your hips slightly left and take a breath in. And exhale, take your knees over to the right. Turn your trunk and your head in the opposite direction. Just like before, you can use your right hand to add a little weight to your legs. Gently press down. And keep rotating your trunk, particularly focused around your rib cage, your neck and head. Rotate to the left. As you sink deeper into the twist, you might find that you can bring a little more of the back of your left side rib cage to the ground. Or initially the back of your shoulder, back of shoulder blade, then back of rib cage a little. Use a deep in-breath to bring your knees and hips back to center. And uncross your legs, center your hips on your mat, stretch your legs out on the ground, release into Shavasana. Rest your arms down beside you, slightly away from the sides of your body, and turn your palms to face up toward the ceiling. Start to, as fully as possible, let your body melt into the ground. As fully as you can, start to dissolve muscle engagement throughout your body. And observe your breath as it flows. Observe your heart rate. As you do that, you might notice breath and heart rate slowing a little. You might notice that your particularly, heart rate is less something that you could consciously govern. But you might notice that your rate of breathing is faster than it needs to be. That you could breathe a little slower and a little more evenly. And again, as before, if you do nothing other than observe, be aware of your rate of breathing and of your heart rate, that's already, I reckon, very beneficial. Take a few deeper breaths here. And roll onto one side and curl into a ball. And please press your way up and take a seat. Thank you. I'll turn the recording off. I'll unmute you.